Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Vegan Stew. Thank you to Rebel Cheese, the sponsor for this week's talk. Prize packs for this month's contest have been graciously donated by Hodo Foods, Crofters Organics, Follow Your Heart, Cinnaholic, Orgain, Revolution Gelato, and Terraseed. So you might want to swing on over to the virtualvegfest.com website and click on the contest tabs where you get all the details. Entering for the contest is super easy. So you just have to like or subscribe to the social media and all right. So let's get started. We're going to bring everyone in now. And first we have Katya. Hi, Katya. So Katya has some
How's it
big
going, Kim?
news. Katya actually won first place in the 69 kilos weight category in the USA powerlifting winter record meet. She lifted a total, wait till you hear this, guys, a total of 852.5 pounds. That is amazing, Katya. Congratulations.
Thank you. Here's the medal if anybody wanted to see. They're pretty snazzy. They're like black steel. They're heavy.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
impressive.
I do appreciate. I know I can do better, so I've already started planning the season for next year.
Good stuff. But don't forget to celebrate. Make sure you celebrate.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Next is our newest member, Dawn Hilton of Urban Eats. Welcome, Dawn.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Hi. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. And then we've got Sangeeta from Tilted Planet.
Hello.
And finally, last but not least, Marla Rose from theveganstreet.com.
Hi, sorry, I was muted.
Hi, Marla.
It took me a second.
No problem. All right. So tonight we have a great show. We are going to talk about judgmental vegans. But before we get there, Marla, how about let's cover some news?
Yeah, I've got a few news items. One is there is a study that was published in the Journal of Lifestyle Medicine that it's kind of a small bit of research, but it's published. Just over 300 people studied, seniors studied. They realized, or they noticed that the people who were plant-based were on more than 50% fewer medications than the average general population. So it was like 58% fewer medications, which is significant. And I'm sure it's an area that they're going to continue to study, but that was, getting these studies is expensive and, it's one of those things that just takes a long time to be able to do. But anyway, that's great news and not surprising. The second bit of news is when you're traveling and you see a Denny's, there may be breakfast for you in the future because they're going to be starting. It's just been teased so far. So like Denny's either has the Beyond or Impossible Burger. I don't remember. It's got one of them. And Mercy for Animals has been working with them to start offering, Denny's is famous for their breakfast, right? And I think it's like a day-long thing that you can order breakfast all day. I don't know. But they have teased that they are committing to releasing some breakfast items. So that's really exciting. So you don't have to get a burger for breakfast if you happen to find a Denny's anymore. Maybe you can get pancakes or waffles or something like that. So anyway, I thought that was really cool to hear. So yeah, Kimberly.
I am super excited about this. I don't know that I'll actually make it to a Denny's to give this a try when it comes out, but here's why this makes me really happy. I am born and raised in New Jersey, and one of the things about being a 20-something who's going out to drink in New Jersey is that if you are on your way home from a concert or you've been at the bar all night, the thing that you do before you go home is you stop at a diner, at a Denny's or an IHOP, right? But vegans, limited options at diners and no options at IHOP or Denny's, right?
Right.
So to be able to get a greasy, lovely, heavy breakfast
Right.
after a long night of
3 in the
hanging out.
morning. Yeah.
Oh, that just speaks to the Jersey girl in me so deeply.
It's true. It's like either senior citizens or drunk 20-somethings.
Right.
But it's like the idea, I know that was like the concept when I was in college too, is just like you put this layer of grease in your belly and that absorbs what you drink. I don't know. Like, that was the concept. It's probably not at all
Right.
technical or advisable or anything, but that was the concept, I think.
Yeah, I
This
think
is
that
a
my
good
friends and I,
segue.
yeah.
What's that, Don?
Oh, I meant to raise my
Oh, it's okay.
microphone. This is a good segue into Judgmental Vegans because my mind is going woo, greasy.
Yeah,
Just
same.
honestly, my mind is going, oh no, not grease. So there you go. Maybe a good
It's true.
segue, but it's
It's true. The thing that's interesting is, so I go way back as a vegan. I've been vegan for, it'll be 27 years in February. So I can remember that for many, many years, the number of people who were interested in eating vegan food really was stagnant for like 25 of those years. When food started replicating closer to what omnivores eat, like a Beyond Burger, for example, is not a bean burger. It's not a beet burger. Those are the things that I grew up, that I came of age eating as a vegan. But that didn't land with the general public. So to me, it's kind of like it's a balancing act because we've been trying to hook people on kale and beets and kidney beans for a long time. And so I don't know, like I feel, I hear what you guys are saying, but I also feel like the long view is also, that wasn't really helping the animals all that much if we stayed as this small little thing. You know what I'm saying?
oh yeah, I hear what you're saying. I was just saying the grease under any circumstance is not
Yeah.
healthy. So I didn't,
Yeah.
whether it's grease on, you can put grease on a mushroom or you can put grease and slather on top of beef tofu. Grease is just grease and it's just going to do what it does in your body. And as I came in the vegan lifestyle from a health perspective and also animals. So it just, I understand what you're saying. It expands that window, but I've been able as a vegan chef to introduce kale and sun-dried tomatoes and regular tomatoes and beets and beans and in communities where food is very essential, African-American communities where the palate is very soul food. And I've been able to make movement with just beans. I didn't have to throw in a Beyond Burger to make that movement. But I guess it also depends on how you approach it. So that's why I said it. I wasn't judging.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I
Judgmental vegans.
definitely hear you.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
and the thing is that, so if you are in proximity of another vegan, then it's easier. But there are many who are trying in isolation and they're on their own, and it helps as a transition food for them.
And I think too, for people who maybe they are the only vegan that they know and they're trying to still spend time with friends, going out, things like that, it makes, if that's on their plate, like if they're willing to eat a Beyond Burger or a Denny's vegan breakfast, it also kind of shows their friends that they're not so difficult, right? So there are people where everyone that they spend time with are not interested or they don't get why they're vegan. And if it's like, oh, do you want to go out to dinner? And every single time the person's like, this place doesn't have anything I can eat. Now you become a pain in the ass and you're like, oh, nobody's going to invite the vegan to dinner anymore. And so for people who want or are like open to eating foods in those places, I think it shows people who are like, vegans eat, just like rabbit food. How many times have we heard that? Oh, you and your rabbit food. and then they see that like, hey, they actually eat kind of the same thing I do. It's just not animal based. It might even it starts to plant seeds. So we all have a different approach for sure. And Katya, did you have your utensil up? Go ahead.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm coming in from like an athletic perspective, and like kale and bean burgers are fine, but they don't have enough protein. I think so. Helene and I did the Veg Fest tour, right, over the 3 weeks when we went to different cities, and we stayed in the same house, and we were eating at the same table. So the joke after we were done was doesn't have enough protein, and people would just like say that and look at me. Because plants have enough protein. Nobody's got protein deficiency ever. We all know that we're good. However, if you're trying to perform at another level athletically, you do need more. And then you do need to look not just for plant-based foods, not just for vegan foods, but for vegan foods with better macronutrient ratio. So I feel like with my past of eating disorders, where I tried to I had orthorexia and I tried to eat quote unquote clean, and just cut out everything. I think at different points in my life, I was cutting out, soy and then gluten and then grains and then bread. And now I don't do any of these things, but it's like when you're an athlete and you're looking for something not just vegan, but also macronutrient specific, with more protein, less fats, not greasy, a lot of fiber, carbs, but maybe not from starches today. People look at you like, ooh, do you have orthorexia? Like, are you crazy? You're just asking too much. So I don't want to be judgmental. And now I understand that I'll just eat at home before the party, and then I'll go hang out with my friends and get a salad at dinner. But it's sad.
Marla?
Yeah, I had a few things to say. This is such a rich topic, no pun intended. But one is that, it's so funny to me because years ago when I first went vegan, the stereotype was vegans just eat, sticks and rocks and grass. And now the pushback is vegans just eat processed foods, quote unquote processed, whatever that means sometimes, to one person. And that's the other thing that kind of grates at me is one person's healthy is not another person's healthy. Like one person could be a fruitarian and think that that's the ultimate health, and other people might be, high carb, there's so many different attitudes about it. But okay, first of all, I couldn't care less what somebody else is eating if it's vegan. I truly do not care. But that said, there's a part of me that wonders, when can we get back personally and as a society to understanding that one meal or one treat does not have to reflect the whole diet. That there's so many people on the sidelines taking pot shots here and there. You show a picture of carrot cake or something, and all of a sudden that's all you eat because that's the nature of social media, and that's annoying to me. Or if you post a picture of a salad, conversely, people will jump to the same, oh, well, all you're doing is eating salad all the time, blah, 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 so it's just why, first of all, why do we have to judge each other based on, one picture or whatever, or based on anything? And then second of all, whatever happened to the idea, I know it's not sexy, but the idea of balance, the idea of, I had a piece of chocolate cake yesterday, today I'm going to mainly eat salad, or what, steam this or that. Whatever happened to just the idea of balance? You know what I'm saying? And I'll leave it alone because I said a lot.
Dawn?
Yeah, this is a great topic. We could probably do 2 episodes on this topic alone, because it almost needs to be broken up into 2 different categories, because we're also talking about healthy and we're talking about subjective versus objective ideas of veganism and how internally we are in our vegan sphere. an opinion versus how the outside people that are non-vegan see us, watching us as representatives of the vegan idea. And then we had to bear the responsibility of if they see us post, like I posted a Salisbury steak that I made, but of course it was mushrooms, lentils, rice, and walnuts. I mean, whatever. Yeah, but it doesn't look like it. The person who's a non-vegan appeals to their eyes, but people that don't read the caption will think, oh, look at her eating impossible meat. Well, because again, like you said, everybody goes their direction and vegan the way they do. But if you have heart disease or something like that, and if you have some kind of health disparity and you're vegan, like cancer or some other ailment, you should probably roll back. I mean, I think we should be okay with telling each other, if you have a chronic disease and you're working out of that, you definitely should go away from that highly processed stuff. But of course, it does appeal to people to put the picture of the Salisbury steak.
Right.
Because I do this for a living, for food, and I'm doing food justice, and I know there's a problem in communities of color with the soul food, the comfort food. I try to lean away from that meat. That doesn't mean, I don't know if we judge each other as much as we think we do on this. When I see somebody eating a piece of carrot cake that's vegan, eat your carrot cake, girl. Guy, eat your carrot cake if you want to. Now, and I may have eaten carrot cake too and didn't put it on Facebook because it doesn't help my brand. It doesn't work for my brand, right? But if you're trying to message to the vegan community and you're trying to be a messenger, you have to be careful about what you post, because it's just the nature of social media. Judgment happens. Judgment happens in real life. That's why we're all vegans, because we judged and made an opinion that veganism was better than a majority of people who are eating non-vegan, hurting the environment, animals, and their health. So we're kind of judgmental, but in a different way, if that makes sense.
Right. That does make sense. And can I just say also, I think so much is related also to your position, like what is your objective? Like you are out there as a health educator and someone who's trying to reduce disparities and trying to increase health in communities that have been denied so much access, so it makes sense that would be a focus of yours. And it makes sense that Katja would be focused in other ways. And it makes sense that I, as someone who's just generally trying to get, people interested in vegan foods, would have a different objective.
Sangeeta?
Yeah, so speaking of position, it's also like going out to eat with your colleagues. You don't get to choose where they decide to go. And even if they are sympathetic about it, not everyone actually understands what it means to be a vegan. So I've been to places where I could only get a salad. But I have also been to places where somebody told me, oh, they have vegan cheese there, or they have Beyond Meat or whatever. Then I feel like, it offers like a way for my colleagues to include me as well. And it really makes them feel better about being inclusive. And I can then say, oh, yeah, sure, I can go with you because they have vegan cheese or whatever. So that from that point of view, I think it is a good thing.
Katja?
Yeah, I have a different experience about eating with colleagues. When I used to work at a corporate, when I used to have a corporate job, I was in a construction company. We were all project engineers, project managers, and I would just not get invited for lunch a lot if they know that, like, I'm going to come and I'm going to complain about, how there's only salad and they all eat like trash, and then I'll be a judgmental vegan. I mean, I wasn't even, I think I was only beginning my vegan journey then. And I was really looking out. I mean, when you start, you're like, oh my gosh, just my eyes have opened. Don't you guys see? You eat this crap, like, oh my God, I'm going to tell you this now. You're going to see it too and you'll thank me. That does not happen. That does not happen in the South, in North Carolina, with construction good old boys that wear their flannel and eat their steak. I mean, I was already weird to them because I was like Russian and trying to eat healthy. And now on top of healthy, there's also vegan. So they were just like, so yeah, a lot of weird jokes, and a lot of maybe we should all just get what we want for lunch and stay in the office and go.
I work at a company that my day job right now is that I work at a company where when we were in the office, they gave us free lunch every Friday. And when I was vegetarian, it was fine. They always had vegetarian options. But once I went vegan, there wasn't anything anymore. And there were a couple of people who would be like, Kimberly, are you coming to get lunch? And I'd be like, I would just say, no, thank you. Most people knew at that point that I was vegan, but there were a few where I was like, no, that's okay. They're like, yeah, but it's free. And I'd be like, right, but there's nothing that I can eat. So I'm just going to stay at my desk and eat the lunch I brought. And one woman was like, oh, you're so ungrateful. She was like angry at me that I didn't come eat this free food. I'm like, look, there are people packing up stuff and taking it home with them. They're not worried. The food's not going to waste. Doesn't matter that I'm not showing up to eat it. So, well, I guess vegans can be judgmental. So can everybody else. It's just kind of human nature sometimes, I guess.
That's always funny to me is the joke.
But,
yes, sorry. I was just saying,
go ahead, Marla.
It's always funny to me, the joke about like, how do you know if somebody's vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you. I think it's funny because it's like, like Katja was saying, I definitely went through my phase at the beginning of just being very extra. But, since then,
I don't think that's extra. You just tell people what you want. It's called explaining, your boundaries.
Right. I mean, myself, it's just like, I just had my vegan lens and it's like vegan. Should we talk about veganism? Should we talk about vegan? It was like, I was very obsessive the first year and, calm down a little bit, but maybe that wasn't what you were referring to. But my point is just like almost every conversation since that initial year of me being so extra is somebody who's defensive just because I'm vegan, because somebody has introduced me as a vegan or whatever. I haven't said a word, but it's just met with a lot of kind of, defensiveness.
Dawn?
Yeah, I think that's almost like, I think we already mentioned, it's kind of human nature. I think we're all judgmental of this show. We're talking about judgmental vegans. I think we all do have a opinion. Now, it depends on what it's rooted in. Is it rooted in anger? Is it rooted in helpfulness? Is it rooted in being a resource? Is it rooted in anger? All these things matter, what it's rooted in. But I just think as vegans, there's this expectation that vegans are going to be these kumbaya, really cooled out people, like that are hippie throwbacks, or like we suddenly elevated to a level that we don't even feel emotions of anger at all. Like we're supposed to be pacifists at some point. I'm completely Angela Davis type vegan, honestly. So I'm very activist. I'm an activist. So that's what I was before I went vegan. So I'm just as passionate about people. And for me, it's a trifecta. You're helping the health, you're helping the animals, you're helping the planet. And whichever way I can get it in the conversation, I get it in.
Right.
Do people get tired of hearing it? It always comes up. You end up being somebody, they got angry with you, bad for them. Terrible. I'm judging them. Too bad, they're terrible people. Okay? Being mad at you for being vegan. I'm judging. Because why? It's wrong. Wrong is wrong, right? So when you're the spokesperson out there, because people know you're vegan, people are always watching you. People have gone through my cart at the grocery store, literally, because I'm like a vegucator. So they literally have stopped and gone through my cart. I'm good with it. Go on through my cart. Now you're going to have a conversation with me about reducing risk factors for chronic disease. And I'm going to, some people don't care about the animals. Some people don't care about the environment, but nobody wants to see their auntie or their mom die of a disease that's preventable, treatable, and reversible. So I think it's okay for us to be vigilant, for us to be strong, opinionated, and who cares if they think you're extra, girl? Be extra. You might save their life being extra. You can save
honestly,
their life.
I don't care. I'm laughing at
I know. I'm just saying. Forget them. That's what I'm trying to say. It's okay to be judgmental. We're not pacifists. It's not. That's not what We care about the lives of sentient beings. We care about the lives of our families, and we care about changing health outcomes, reducing the cost of healthcare in the United States. These are things that matter. So we should be talking about it. We should have a strong opinion about it.
Raise your hand if someone has gone vegan because of you. Yeah. So
Marla, why is your hand down?
There's so many factors.
yeah, so that happens because we speak about it, right? We don't keep it to ourselves. One way or another, we are getting the message out.
Yeah. Katya, did you have your?
You're absolutely right.
I did. Yeah, actually, now I remember. I don't think about my clients. Yeah, like a lot of my clients go vegan because of me. I was thinking friends. I had this out just to agree with Dawn that people are going to get upset about all kinds of random stuff. And they're going to get upset about you being vegan. They're going to get upset about the colored hair. They're going to they're going to find their ways. They're going to think that you're trying to make a point and be obnoxious and be a diva. But like, whatever, you live your life. And if there's a Russian saying, if you don't like the smell, then you can go away, and then it doesn't smell. So if people don't like you vegan, then they can go away when you're not around, when you're not doing your vegan stuff, right? When you're not doing the activism, or when you're just not eating the vegan food. If that annoys them, I don't understand how that can annoy them. But I've had people that I know who are like, oh, I'm not eating vegan food for lunch. I mean, you know them. They exist, right? I'm not trying to eat mac and cheese. What the hell? Okay, then go somewhere else. Like, we don't have to get upset with each other. We're probably not going to be super close friends, but like, we can get along. We can be coworkers. No hard feelings.
I think people who get like really angry with us, either because we've shared, sometimes you don't even have to be like talking to them about veganism, just by showing up as a vegan or choosing food in front of them. I think that the people who get super angry are feeling guilt,
right?
Because when they see that it's possible to eat that way and not be miserable or look unhealthy and to not contribute to that cruelty, I think even if they're not conscious of it, there's a feeling of guilt there, and it comes out as anger, because it's like now they're feeling probably judged, but also like they're starting to see what they're contributing to, and it's painful. I mean, think about when you realized what you were part of by being a meat eater, and then you made a decision to stop doing that. It hurt. Excuse me. It hurts, right? It's so like it's a deep pain when you realize what's been going on.
Right. That's true.
That's my thought. Marla, then Dawn.
Okay. I was just going to say, and in my experience, like, first of all, I don't ever feel like it's my job to take credit for this person or that person. I just feel like I was a seed among seeds. But I do feel like there's a lot of, that we can have a huge influence and impetus behind people's decisions. But as you probably know, there's probably not someone who came into your life and removed your blinders for you. You kind of had to be somewhat ready for that, But the one thing I was going to say is, in my experience, the people who push back the hardest are the ones who are the closest to making some little, to making a breakthrough. It's the people who couldn't care less, who are totally indifferent, that you can't, get any movement with, that if somebody is pushing back hard and is defensive and maybe even angry and, that sort of thing, in my experience, those are the ones who are the closest.
So that's a good point. There's so many good points coming out. Again, this could be a 2 episode, but my experience has been that those people that are pushing back are usually in some kind of health issue. They're usually having a health issue, and they don't want to deal with having to remove something. The whole idea of taking something away when they're already in a state of suffering themselves personally. It's somewhat selfish, right? It's selfish because you're telling me I have to take something away just to be healthy when my doctor's not telling me that. It's a lot of conflicting feelings. So you have to be someone as a vegan. You can't just be you almost have to also be a vegetator is my little thing, but you have to be very statistically and clinically something. You have to have some clinical foundation so that you can share with them not just the food. We're at the restaurant, you eat your burger, your Beyond Burger. You have to be able to share, and this is what you're getting from it, and this is what you're not getting by eating the beef burger or the turkey burger. This is what's not happening to your body. So we have to kind of take on the mantle of also being a bit of a vegetator if we are, in this journey. And it's not something that some people want to do. Some people don't want to do that, but it's almost a part of the movement because of where food is and where we are in the journey. Because there's so many faux meats and highly processed meats, we almost have to all take on that mantle of vegetator. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to have conversations. And those who push back, like you said, they're usually, in my experience, having health problems and they don't want to deal with it. They don't believe you know what you're talking about, that kind of thing.
Katya, then Sangeeta.
Yeah, so I just saw Susan wrote, after 10 years being vegan, my family doesn't change. And people who know us closest, the family, the best friends, the husbands, the wives, I feel like these are the people that we really want to change the best and the hardest, but they don't. And actually worked through this with my therapist. So my therapist said it is very hard to change family, for example, like especially if it's mom or dad, because like my mom has seen me probably like shit everywhere. She's seen me cry nonstop. She's seen me like when I was a baby, right? And I was growing up and I was stubborn. I was, in the adult sense, like stupid because kids are, they don't have enough information. You can't call kids stupid, but in comparison, the amount of knowledge and experience, our parents always think they were kind of, kids. So why would they listen to you if they've seen you at your worst, if they've seen you as a baby, if you've seen you without any experience or knowledge? And that's not a conscious thing necessarily. So with the people that are closest with us, it's harder for them to trust that we actually are a professional when we do something, or we are knowledgeable in this topic that we're really passionate about, not because they're bad people and they don't value us, but because like psychologically stuff just gets in the way.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing, that I've had most success outside of my close family and friends.
Same.
Yeah, same thing. There's and definitely a psychological aspect involved there, because I'm not sure what it is, but it seems to be fairly common experience for vegans that they aren't able to, unless sometimes they can get lucky and when they're going vegan, somebody would say like, I'll do it with you. Unless that happens, usually it's fairly common to not have the family on board with you.
Well, my experience has been a little different. My experience has been a little different. My mother turned vegan because I did. My husband's vegan. My cousin went vegan. I've had 4 family members go vegan. And I think it's, in my experiences, and also I've had people that I work with, clients and community folks. But the reason that really was critical was the food. I cook food. I'm a vegan cooker. I'm a chef. So I didn't just, and I also did a whole food plant-based nutrition training with college at Cornell, and I went to plant-based conferences. I hear a lot of feedback. I don't know what that is, but I went to the plant-based conferences, the Peapods, the Vegan Summerfest, those educational, clinical hour kind of places. And that's really great. I don't know what happened there, but I went to those conferences, and those conferences gave me the tools I needed. So when I provided the lentil loaf or the vegan lasagna, and because I didn't talk about it then, I just said here, and then I was like, feeding all the time because all I do is food. I meal prep and just all the food stuff. So they're gonna eat my food anyway. So now you're eating it and you're like, "Ooh, this is delicious." And now I can speak clinically about the health benefits of it. So it was like a carrot dangling, right? So I dangled the carrot of the delicious food that's not vegan, good for vegan, but it was just good, right? And it happened to be vegan. Then they asked me questions. My husband didn't have that. He was hell scared. We came in together. That's how that happened. So he was, and I cooked for him every day. I always cooked, and I had catering. I already did food. So it wasn't a hard transition for us. But my mom didn't live with me. She was in a different state. And she's been vegan and going strong. You can't force your mom, like Kati said, to do a thing. You can't force your parent because you're always a little kid to them. But she respected the training and the certifications I gotten. She respected the educational conferences. I didn't just go to Veg Fest, which is great. I love Triangle Veg Fest. I love Veg Fest. Woo-hoo, we love Veg Fest. But I went to the educational clinical hours conferences where the plant-based physicians were going so that I had the information and I can answer questions. And if you can't answer those questions, it makes it hard to just do the food. It takes longer that way. That's been my experience.
Dawn, I'm so jealous. My parents still don't think I have a job.
What?
I mean, yeah, they think this coaching bullshit, excuse my language, is like, you're an engineer by education. Why don't you do serious stuff? Like,
Oh God,
Yeah.
you gotta go to Peapod and get some vegetation, man, and just food. Do you cook? So I don't know. It's the food, man. I can go to communities. The food. It's the food. You gotta trick it. The food gets them talking and listening.
Right.
When I go, I've dealt with kids in juvenile detention centers, and I've literally provided nachos, made vegan cheese, mac and cheese, and chili and stuff. They didn't even know. These are kids in juvenile detention centers that have been brought out for the day. Literally, they took their to-go boxes and were happy, didn't even want to eat the food that was waiting for them in the lunchroom because it tastes good. It's just a trick. It's just got to be, and it's a little more, and it didn't have to be fake meat in it. I didn't have fake meat in it. And something wrong with fake meat. People want to do that. That's okay. Do what you do. But it's the flavor, the spices, the herbs, the blends. And Sangeeta knows this. Kati, everybody knows this in this group. If you do that well and you execute that well, and Katia, even though you don't eat that right now because you're an athlete, you gotta fix something for them that's very familiar and unctuous to them, and that will make a difference, I think.
Yep.
I had a very similar experience as Dawn, where the people closest to me are the ones that have gone vegan. My mom went vegan. It was not long after she was diagnosed with lung cancer, but it's now, the average lifespan of someone with lung cancer is 5 years after diagnosis, and next month it will be 9. And my mom truly believes that by changing the way that she was living, and eating, that has made a significant difference. And she did it for herself, but she also did it for the animals. And my husband, he went vegan because he just, he's been listening to me for years. And when it finally clicked, he's a sense, he's got the same sensitivity, and he cared about animals, but he hadn't made that connection, and when he finally did, and he's been vegan now we just past 2 years. And it's just incredible. So we all have a different approach, and people listen, you plant those seeds, you give them amazing food, you tell them stories, and the people who are going to come around, they're going to come around. Just be patient. Sangeeta?
Yeah, so I went vegan because of my husband. And then many years after I went vegan, recently my dad tried whole foods plant-based diet, and he had a good result, nice success with his whole foods plant-based diet, controlling his diabetes. So sorry, he doesn't have diabetes, controlling his blood pressure. And so that was a good I hope that was a good example in the family. But as Kimberly just said, everyone has to arrive to it at their own time and pace. And after my dad became whole foods plant-based diet, and that process was of him going whole foods plant-based diet was during the pandemic, and him being in India and me being in here, and he had a maid who came to his house to cook. So I basically made videos for her. He showed it to her, and those are on my Tilted Planet channel on YouTube. You can see, if you are interested, how to make Indian whole foods plant-based food. I posted those, so you can check it out.
Thank you.
Sure.
Marla?
Okay. I was just going to say that I think in some ways food is a great gateway. Even though sometimes people will have stereotypes and defensiveness around it, in other ways it's like it's apolitical. In some ways you could talk about it with without getting the pushback that you would about animal rights, or like in some ways it's just an easier sell if somebody's eating something delicious, that their minds are open to it and they see that you're thriving, and they see that, like I was going to mention, my husband had leukemia. He'd been vegan for 25 years when he was diagnosed. It's not prevented or caused by diet, but I will say that while he had that, and he's fine now, total remission and all that, he didn't have other complications. Like when he had to go in and get, do a bone marrow transplant, which is part of the process, he didn't have other complicating factors. He didn't have pre-diabetes. He didn't have high blood pressure. He didn't have all these other things that complicate. He just had, so it's kind of funny because an oncologist would look at him and just be like, you're really healthy. Yeah, you've got cancer, but you're really healthy. Like that's how an oncologist would look at it. It's just that he didn't have all these other things, so I'm not saying that would, plant-based diet prevents any of, like it obviously didn't prevent leukemia, but he was on a way better foundation, I think, because of 25 years of being vegan.
Oh, we're all being quiet. I'll always have something to say. Yes, I can always say yes. So I just think that it's important that for the listeners that we don't tell people that things that are clinical that we don't really. So, for instance, are not just called this the leukemia not being caused by or can't be prevented by whole food plant-based lifestyle. I don't know what the research is on that. I just want to make sure we're careful and we don't get too clinical in saying making causative statements. You just made a statement that it's not caused by or prevented by a lifestyle of vegan, plant-based, whole food, plant-based. I don't know where that is. That in what study was that? I just want to make sure we're being. I just want to make sure we're being very, very, because we're top. There are people listening to us. That's why we always. I'm not trying to say that you need to explain that on this back to me, because I'm not. I'm just saying that we need to just be very careful in how we communicate, because we're influencing people here on that note. But that's just my thought on that, because it is 90% risk factor reduction, and it is reversible. Things are reversed, and I heard everything else that you said as well. And I just think this is a very good conversation, because some of these conversations are hard to have and they're very personal. So when you come back and you say stuff, it feels like everything feels personal, because it's personal. Your communal food is communal, right? So it's a very easy way to have like the conversations we are having. But sometimes all vegan food isn't healthy, but it's healthier than eating corpses and slaughtered animals, and it's healthier than eating the secretions of cows and egg, hormone, egg periods from chicks, right? It's way healthier. But but all veganism, we got to tell the truth. All vegan food isn't healthy. Your fried Oreo is not healthy. When you eat 17 carrot cakes a week, whatever. I'm just being dramatic. But there are things that in that, the things that do add to a poor gut flora, and part of it's lifestyle choices, and it's just not the diet, it's also the other 7 or 8 lifestyle choices. So I'm just thinking we need to always be mindful of that. But the diet is so important, and food is communal. That's why we can sit around and talk about it. At funerals, you have food. At reunions, at graduations, we're always eating. So it's such an important part.
Yeah, and that is one of the factors why the family gets upset at the vegans initially, is because then you're not participating in that ritual of eating or whatever that is, and you're
Or
saying
even
disrupting it, and and it's so much like this is the way our ancestors have done this thing, so you're questioning your traditions, you're questioning your ancestors, and that's just not considered a polite thing to do.
Absolutely. I have that, when you don't put I have a smoke and collards dish. And when I first introduced it, when you don't put, I'm sorry, I didn't do the microplane, but
It's okay.
when you have to put, in the Black community, in the African American community, you have to put some meat in there, like a smoked turkey neck or a smoked something, right, in the collard greens to make it taste, quote, smoky. That's not true at all, but that's generationally what we knew, right? And you just have to, the disruption is, it's a good thing. It's just real muddy at first, and then the water settles, and it's, everything settles down, and it's fine. But you have to have that disruption. The disruption is necessary. Disruption is necessary for change. It's just not pleasant.
So I want to just comment on, kind of maybe take us back to judgmental vegans. Because I was thinking about, there's a friend of mine who, her best friend is vegan, and she has been best friends with this woman for years. Her friend's been vegan for a long, long time. And she is interested in veganism because she understands why people do it. And she feels in her heart that that probably is what she wants to do. But she is terrified to talk to her best friend. She asks me questions, and like, we've just met through, we're in a business mastermind together, and she'll come to me and she'll ask me questions. We've had really great conversations. And she feels really comfortable, but this person who she loves and who really could help her on a one-to-one basis very easily is unwilling to look at her willingness to learn, and is just angry that she hasn't done it yet. So there's never a feeling of like, I really want you to ask me these questions, which is always my approach. Come ask me anything. Eat a cheeseburger while you do it. It's disgusting, but I'm going to keep that to myself. But come to me and ask me whatever questions you want. And like, how sad is that this friend of hers has all this knowledge? She's been doing it so long, and she's just so closed off, and she doesn't want to help.
Do you know why does she feel like her friend's gonna feel like she's being judgy? Is that why she's not talking to her about it? I wonder if that, because why would, that's her best friend. I mean, I wonder why that she won't say anything to her.
Yeah, she said that, the few times that they've had conversations, because there was the only vegan that she knew. So she thought, let me ask my best friend, because she's probably got the answers. And her best friend was just like mean about it. And it's like, there's no time, you can't transition. There's none of this. You need to do it or you don't do it. And here's why you're a bad person, because you're not vegan.
Put the heart. Yeah. All that. So that's where we get back to judgmental vegans, right? We don't want to, I don't even know if that's a judgmental vegan. That's just like a mean person. Like, that's not even a judgmental vegan.
Yeah, judgmental person, not judgmental vegan.
Yeah, because again, we all have opinions. That's how we became vegans, because we left the mainstream and took this road, right? It is not the most, and it's the thinner road. And that's what a judgment, we made judgment calls. But being mean is never good. Being strong and opinionated is nothing wrong with that. But being mean is very bad. Just mean. That I'm just not even, that's just mean. Yeah. It's terrible. But I hope that you've been able to, perhaps you can be a resource. We just all need to be resources for all these folks out here, and people are always watching us. Even though you think you're not, whether you're a chef or not a chef, you're a power lifter or educator or whatever you are, you're always being watched because you're a vegan. So it's like the spotlight's on like the whole time. No matter what you do, they're looking. So you just have to be mindful of that.
Go ahead, Marla, then Sangeeta.
Well, I was just going to say, back to this idea of having a hard time talking to family members, and that sometimes I think the same dynamic may be in place with old friends, is that you have patterns, you have baggage maybe. Like I think maybe a lot of us in our family of origin were the rebels. We were the ones who were kind of leading to new things and trying, like many of us come to veganism because we were experimental, because we had more open minds and stuff like that. So that can also bring more pushback from family members who are like, oh, that's Marla just doing her goofy thing again. My point, I guess, is that could be with friendships too, is that you have this kind of entrenched dynamic that can be hard to.
Yeah, I was also going to say that. Plus, also, Kimberly, maybe you just heard one side. You don't know. You don't know the other side of the story.
That's true.
Yeah. I think I was willing to take it as she explained it, because the way she approached me and asking questions, she seemed genuinely interested and curious, and not like I had a hard time believing that she would have been the combative one in that story with the way she has. And it's not, we've had multiple conversations. She's always been very open and easy in those conversations. But you're right, Sangeeta, that's important for us to remember too, is that, there are, what do they say? There's 3 sides to every story, yours, mine, and the truth. So that's a good point. Thank you. Go ahead, Dawn.
So I wonder, how many of you, is judgmental vegan, is that a bad thing? I guess I'm just asking the question in this group. Is it a bad thing to be a judge? I don't know what that means. It's kind of a subjective thing.
Go ahead, Katya, and then I've got an opinion.
Yes. So, okay, as a coach who receives people who are like, oh my gosh, I'm overweight, I'm obese, my heart, my blood pressure, my this, my that, my stomach, whatever people don't like about their health or bodies, like, oh, please, here's my pile of crap, like, go fix it, boom, deal with this. Sometimes for some people, if I don't get real with them and be like, I'm not a magician, like I can't just write you a program and then you do nothing and then stuff fixes itself, right? When they get lazy, when they get complacent, when they get back to their old habits, depending on the kind of coaching that they said they're best with, encouragement or tough love, I'm going to get judgmental. If they said they deal best with tough love, yeah, I'm going to get judgmental. I may be angry. I may be sassy. Whatever works for them to get to their goals, whether that is go plant-based or lose weight or get jacked, like it doesn't matter. So I feel like if you really care and your goal is to help somebody in whatever the way, and they initiated the help me, yeah, get sassy with them. Get judgmental if that's okay with them. The means serve to an end. Is that a saying?
The means justify the ends, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think in some cases, it's judgmental. Again, it's an opinion. Sometimes we keep it to ourselves, and sometimes we don't. I don't know if that's judge. I think we're always thinking, we're always forming opinions, and judgment. That's just synonymous. To me, it's splitting hairs. Being judgmental or having an opinion. It's whether you state it or not, and how you say it.
When I think about judgmental vegans, the easiest way to describe it is by talking about social media. When someone has gone to a vegan restaurant and they post pictures of the burger with vegan cheese and then like the 3 appetizers they got and like the 2 slices of cake and whatever, and they just talk about how amazing this food is, you got to go here, and there's always at least one, their only comment is, that's not healthy. And I just like, and then you'll see someone else will comment with that woman spinning a globe going, point here where I like, point to where I asked if this food was healthy. And like, we're all on a different path, but at the same time, we're all vegan, so we should be in this together, because every vegan that I have met, in their heart of hearts, would love it if the world was vegan. So if letting people start off by eating the chocolate cake and the cheeseburgers and the milkshakes and whatever it is, if that's how we get them in, and then we can teach them to love lentil loaf, and we can help them, know how to make kale properly where it's actually edible. When we can bring them in, however we can bring them in, like we should, for me, I think we should do that. Sankita?
Yeah, similarly, if a celebrity has gone vegan recently and you look at their picture, and instead of saying that, okay, good, that person's now vegan, point to one leather thing they have on their, maybe a purse or shoes or something. I mean, it's a journey for everyone, and everyone comes to it at their own pace. But we should be supporting each other instead of criticizing. And like Dawn said, where that judgment comes from is important. I like that point.
Marla?
I was just going to say real quick that so, we are a judging species. We all judge all the time. If we recorded every time we made a judgment a day, we would have like pages and pages. Like, it's just like, it's so much a part of the human experience, the way the brain works, whatever, that it's just a natural thing. So we all are making judgments all the time. And I think that the word judgment and the concept of judgment is itself kind of neutral. It's just like, I could be riding my bike and judging the distance between a car door and my bike. Or I could also be in the other realm of saying, I don't want to behave like that person because I don't think that vegan is necessarily giving a good impression of how vegan. So that's a different sort of judgment. My attitude about where it moves from judgment to judgmental is when you hold yourself as judge and jury, but also superior, as so to me, that's where it changes, is holding yourself in a different position and that sort of thing. But we should all be honest about the fact that we're all making judgments all the time.
Dawn?
I was taking a note. I was that vegan groups. I was in when I was in Greenville. I was on a vegan group, one of the vegan groups that are online, and the only time, and I was one of those people that spoke up. Now, sometimes I would say nothing. I'm honestly, opinionated, kind of judgy or whatever. But if it was I kept it to myself, because it's not my place to tell people what to do, except for my clients, right? Or people that I want to. But if I saw like a continuous, like you said, it was Kimberly, you said they're new. But then there are people that are like, all they post is like junk vegan food on a vegan feed. And every time you go to Dunkin' Donuts, you're posting up something, or every time you go to Taco Bell. I mean, it's like everywhere you go, this junkie, not some beautiful thing at, something, but it's just all you do. So then I would say, I've had the occasion, I don't do it anymore because it's a waste of time. You can't win that conversation. They're already vegan. I'm not trying to win them. I just think it's like some of the stuff I've been one of those people that say that's not healthy. I did that once or twice, but I'm gonna admit it. Yes, I'm coming clean, but I did it when people had done it over and over again. Like that's all you post. Can we do better? Can we post something like a Buddha bowl? Can we post a Buddha bowl? Does it have to be fried? Everything fried, please. So, but again, that's not me judging. That's me thinking of the other people that are new to the vegan community, and then they're seeing these longtime vegans, and on the feed, that's all they're posting. But it's not a lot of those people. Those are the rare birds, right, in the field. But I agree, we should let them eat their milkshakes and do whatever they're gonna do. But you gotta catch them before the 30 days are up, so that you transition them out of, the understanding that that's not sustainable, right? If we can catch them, you can hook them that way, but you got to catch them before because what happens is ultimately those people, in my experience, they eat the milkshake, they do the french fries, the donuts, the burgers, and then they're like, this doesn't work. I've gained 20 pounds. I don't feel healthy. And they don't have anybody to talk to. So if those people have somebody to talk to and reel them back in, I'm all for it. But if they don't have anybody to talk to, it's kind of rough to go that way. It's hard to see them do that way because we know it's not going to end well.
Yeah, and those people are also likely to go back to their pre-vegan diet because then,
Yes. They it didn't work. It didn't work for me. Vegan. They're the ones you see in the store that say vegan doesn't work. I was tired all the time. I was sick. I had headaches. Yeah, because you ate Oreos all day.
I have to say, I wonder. I would love if it was possible to get numbers on this. The amount of people that do that and say that and then stop being vegan. I'd love to see how many of them went vegan because they thought it was going to help them lose weight or it was going to be healthy, versus the people who do it because of the ethical reasons.
That's
how
true.
many of them stay? Because when I went vegetarian, it was solely ethical. I had no idea how to cook. I had no idea what I was supposed to eat. And I just did it. And I ate like shit for the first few months as I tried to figure out, I ate a lot of pasta with a lot of cheese because I was vegetarian. And I felt terrible, but it was so important to me to not be part of that cruel system anymore that I learned, and I kept reading. And now I've read, follow all the doctors and I read all the books and I'm trying to balance it out. But I would think that that's my guess, is that the people who give up on it, they did it. It was solely for them. But when you do it, when you understand there's a bigger purpose, there's something larger, and you're part of something that matters so much, it's a lot easier to stick with it. And it's a lot easier to learn how to like kale when you feel it.
True.
Right. Well, I was just going to say, and I know we've got to go soon, probably, right? But when I was vegan, there were no other, there was, no Beyond Burger. There were no, well, I mean, there was a vegan cheese, but it was so horrifying. I don't even want to think about it. But my point is just that we didn't know what was going to be around the corner. We went vegan for the ethical, for the ethics of it. And, and for a good 20 years, that was pretty much what we had. But the point is, I think that when you're very grounded in your values around it, when you're very grounded in your convictions around it, that for all I knew, I would never have melting, cashew cheese and, all that stuff. But that was okay because I was doing this for the animals.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dawn. You can have the last word.
Oh gosh, I'm the new one with the last word. I was just going to say, I agree with what Marla was saying. If you have your reason, right? The reason that it roots you. It's your rooting reason. And what you said, Kimberly, also about making sure that the ethical vegans versus not being ethical. So I'm a ethical and an animal and an environment, all three, the trifecta. But what brought me in was health. I guess it's good to educate people once you get them in, because some people don't even care about animals. They don't have any sympathy. They won't watch Earthlings. They won't watch Cowspiracy. They won't watch any of these films. They're just trying to be, they don't want to die of a heart attack or die hypertensive and diabetes. So you got to get them as on the secondary. There's just got a lot of education, just a lot of education. And however they get in, you just, whatever, if they come in through the health, you just got to lock them in. If they come in through the ethical, it's easier. Ethical is easier. Because there's always going to be a chicken truck with terrible, did you see on the road, there's one to slaughter, and you're going to see it. So you're never going to forget it, and especially if you've seen into these documentaries. So that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Thank
we
you. Go ahead.
we know that diets don't work, and when you're
Right.
doing
Right.
it for it's just a diet, it's not gonna work.
And there is
Right.
a difference.
Love
We
that.
got to do a show on this. There's a difference between being plant-based and being vegan.
Right.
There is, and there's a difference between and there's no such thing as a diet. The diets are all jokes, right? Like Sangeeta said, diets are a roller coaster, a terrible roller coaster. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. This has been wonderful. So we'll close out the show. So we'll get everybody back. So bye, John. Thank you, John, Marla, and Sangeeta. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for hanging in there with us. We did go over a little bit, but I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. It was a lively group. We have a lot to say. And we'll see you back here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. What a nerd. All right. Well, enjoy your evening and thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing us to do this. Spreading our vegan message means so much to every single one of us. And we wouldn't be able to do it if you weren't here watching. So have an amazing night and we'll see you next week. Thanks all.